What's up, everyone? Mike here from The Art of Guitar. The other day I went and bought a vintage drum machine. It's from about 1986, I think. And I started messing with it at home, and I realized that I was coming up with these really cool ideas. And I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? I've been sort of in a creative rut lately. And at the studio, I have Pro Tools, and I have all these sounds at my disposal, thousands of drum kits that I could choose from. But when I'm sitting here at home with this old drum machine, I'm coming up with way better ideas. And I was like, what is the deal? And what I started to realize was that when I have limited resources, such as just like 10 drum sounds versus 1,000, I tend to do a lot more with the little bit that I have. I thought, man, this is a weird thing, and that's probably why my greatest creative era was around the time when I first started, and I was just getting into these machines and learning how to use them, and I only had a few sounds to work with. So then I thought, okay, how could this also pertain to guitar playing? So I thought about soloing. And when you have the entire neck to choose from, and you just feel like, oh, I have all these possibilities to play with, sometimes that can actually paralyze you as a guitar player. I don't know if you know that feeling, where you just don't know where to start, you don't know what to do. But if you limit it down to just a few choices, it's really surprising. Instead of having this vast landscape to explore, you have this little plot of land, and with that land, you have to go very deep with it. So a really curious thing starts to happen with creative limitation. You start to actually go deeper with the little bit that you do have. Here's an example. So, like I said, I've been getting into these vintage synths and drum machines and stuff. I made sort of a cheesy backing track. It's kind of like a Phantasm soundtrack sounding thing. But I thought, what if I were just to solo over the top of this, maybe 8 to 16 measures, real short, and make it just three possible places, for 3 frets, I should say, on the guitar. So because it was in A minor, I chose A, B, and C. We have A, B, C. And I thought, okay, can I do an entire solo just playing in those 3 frets? Just A, B, and C. Now I cheat a little bit. I do bends and I do different techniques, such as like a harmonic tap at the end. But I wanted to show you that with those 3 notes, I actually came up with some pretty cool stuff. I just messed with it for a little while, came up with some ideas and threw it down. So check out the video. And so what only having 3 places on the guitar neck to choose from forced me to do was to really take advantage of the dynamics and the techniques that I already know, and I actually had to create a few that I've never done before that I'm conscious of anyway. So I did a lot of raking, because I like that kind of sound. I really tried to place the notes in the right places. I didn't just noodle and make a bunch of noises. And then I also really took advantage of bends. So as you can tell, I did a full bend, a lot of half bends, and even a step and a half bend to a whole bend. So I've never done that before, which I had to go deep to find that one. Different kinds of vibrato I noticed I started doing. And then one thing I really liked that sort of came out of just, I guess, sheer desperation of not having anywhere else to go, is I started going this half bend. I kind of forgot what I did, but it was something similar to that. So it was a bend right to a half step pull off, which I thought sounded pretty cool. So these are things that maybe I wouldn't have done if I had the whole neck to explore. You know, I started getting that paralysis by analysis by looking at the entire neck, and it does become a little bit overwhelming. So the point of this video is to tell you that if you're having any creative blocks, try to maybe limit what you have to work with. So think of an artist. They only really have 3 primary colors, and think of all the masterpieces that came out of that. In music, I mean, we already have limitations. We have the good old song structure, you know, verse, chorus, verse, and so on. Think of how many great songs came from that, even though you would think it might be very limiting to only have those choices. And then on the guitar, we usually have 12 tones to work with. But we usually break that down into diatonic scales, so usually we have 7 to work with. Think of all the great solos that came from 7 notes. And then break it down even further to pentatonic, where we have 5 notes. And think about all your favorite guitar players and how a lot of them use pentatonic for a lot of their soloing. and great things can come from that. So today we're just taking it down another notch to 3 possibilities. I'm not saying just 3 notes, but 3 frets. And I want to challenge you and see if you could come up with something on your own. I think what I'll do is at the end of this video, I'll loop the Phantasm type backing track for you a few times and see if you could just play around with these 3 notes, A, B, C. You could do them in any octave. You can even... and see if you could play with it for about a few hours throughout the week or whatever, and tell me in the comments if you came up with any new techniques, any new ideas, because you were forced to be creative. You were forced to go deep as opposed to exploring an entire landscape of possibilities. Okay? All right, creative limitation. Give it a shot. I know it's going to work for you, and we'll catch you at the next video, which is going to be the next installment of the 100 greatest guitar solos of all time. I've been practicing it like crazy. My fingers are sore, but it's worth it. This one's going to be a really good one. We'll put that out sometime after Christmas, okay? Shortly after Christmas. All right, guys. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.